Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Holm versus Bueno Silva. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Ashley Evans-Smith versus Alan Perez. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confidence Alan Perez to beat Ashley Evans-Smith. I just feel like Smith, she's 36, not a terrible age necessarily, but not a great age either. No, you're getting past that, you passing your mid 30s, so you're not 35 anymore, you're 36. So you're kind of early 30s, like that's early to like 33, kind of a real good range. 35, like it's okay, you still kind of got it going on a little bit. You start getting at 36 and you start saying, no, consider retirement. And also with the inactivity, the injuries, and the poor performances, I'm just not liking Evan Smith at all really in this one. I think Alan Perez, I can trust her to make some big leaps and improvements in her skill set. And also I think she'll have a better stylistic matchup going there with Ashley Evans-Smith. Also going there with an older fighter or a fighter who's been aging and who's been inactive. I think Alan Perez will be able to push a pace and show those improvements and just wear down Evans-Smith over the course of the fight. And I think she gets her out of there second round. So in this one, I have Alan Perez via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division. We got Carl Deaton III versus Alex Munoz. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Alex Munoz, average confidence to beat Carl Deaton III. I think Alex Munoz just got the style to beat Carl Deaton III. I have seen Carl Deaton III get taken down multiple times by mediocre competition, like multiple times, like the easiest, like lack of defense, lack of resistance, just taken down off his feet like a Disney princess, just taken off his feet, swooped off his feet multiple times by, mediocre regional tier fighters. And Alex Munoz, I think he has more than enough wrestling to be able to take him off his feet. I think his striker should be able to hold up with Deaton, even though that's where Deaton will have a clear advantage on the feet, in my opinion. But I think Alex Munoz should be able to threaten on the feet, to set up his takedowns and should be able to grind out. I'm not gonna say grind out. I think he's gonna finish him. I'm gonna say like a third round submission, just wearing him down over the course of the fight, and then tapping him out in the third round is making him embrace a wrestling grind or putting a wrestling grind on him and wearing Deaton down again over 3 rounds and then tapping him out in the third round. So in this one, I have Alex Munoz via third round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the flyweight division. We got Tyson Nam versus Azad Maksum. And how I feel about this one, I can't help but run up with my words. I can't help it. But anyway, yeah, Nam versus Maksum. I feel average confidence Maksum. Now I think high confidence Maksum to beat Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam's in his 40s now, like 41, so plus 40 plus, coming off a knockout loss. And he's going for a hard-hitting Kazakhstan, and that's an area, that's a country where, they got some heavy-handed, real technical strikers. I think Maksum is like, a young fighter, so he's not, all the way there. Obviously you're going to build up and develop as a fighter, so yeah, he got some years to build and work on those, but I think right now he's in a good position, undefeated, got that undefeated glow to him, got a youthful chin to him, and he got his big power, and he has pretty sharp offense. And I don't think at this point Nam is going to be able to take the power in offense from Maksum, the younger, heavier-handed. Well, both of them got heavy hands. I'm not going to say one's heavier-handed, but I definitely think Maksum will be able to dish it out, have faster hands. And yeah, I don't think Nam at 41 years old, coming off a knockout loss, will be able to withstand the power of Azad Maksum. So in this one, I have Azad Maksum via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division. We got Gennaro Valdez versus Evan Elder. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Evan Elder to beat Gennaro Valdez. So average confidence Evan Elder to beat Gennaro Valdez. With this one, I just feel like Gennaro Valdez is just so basic, like no real grappling in his game. He kind of like an A and B fighter. Like he's just trying to wait for you to, or I guess, finish your strikes and try to throw his strikes back, or try to wait and just hopscotching and maybe hit you while you're throwing and stuff. But that's like, it's nothing much about him. Like just swingy, loopy, sloppy strikes and just waiting on you. He just waited on the moment instead of creating the moment, instead of setting traps. And like this very low level striking, no grappling. Not impressed at anything he does. But like I said, you have heart, a will to win, and you show up, you have the opportunity. So that's what's in there. And it's also not like Evan Elder is just some trustworthy dude or some trustworthy fighter to get it done. He hasn't won yet in the UFC, to my knowledge. Yeah, he hasn't won yet in the UFC. But Evan Elder has shown me much more just from the fights I watched him in. And like, not only can he win on the feet, which I think he will be able to do without, for sure he can do it on the feet, but also he does have the grappling as well, and he should have a clear path to victory there as well if he wants to mix in wrestling and round out a decision. And always it's MMA, so he can always mix all of them together, which he will likely do. But yeah, I think Evan Elder is going to be overall the better fighter in every individual aspect as well. Just a much higher level fighter, and Valdez is hoping on maybe some guy getting tired, or maybe Elder getting lax or something and catch him with something, or just time and a chance. But other than that, it's no real clear path for Gennaro Valdez, to be honest. So I think Evan Elder just dominates him everywhere in this fight. Be a little bit filling out process, but once the fight starts settling in and Evan Elder starts to really pick up on things, Valdez is going to still be stuck on part 1 because that's what he can do. And Evan Elder is going to be on chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and is going to start to mix the takedown, then wear him down, tire out his arms, and then once he gets his arms tired out, start to bite on takedowns, probably start to bait takedowns, get him to drop his hands even more, catch him like a head kick up top, then probably some follow-up punches, follow him to the ground, and ground and pound him for like a second round TKO. So in this one, I have Evan Elder via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division. We got Jack DellaMandalena versus Basil Hafez. In how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confident Jack DellaMandalena versus Basil Hafez. Hafez seems like a pretty decent dude, to be honest, but I just can't really trust. He's training in the right gym. He's training around champions and good fighters and whatnot. And, he gets good praise from the people around him, like, these legit fighters. But his resume doesn't really speak very highly of him from the resume. The fighters he has fought and beaten and also lost to. I said lost to, like, what's Lawson? Has lost to. And I think this for Jack DellaMandalena, as long as he's taking this fight seriously, this should definitely be lock confidence. And I'm going to go first round TKO for Jack DellaMandalena. I feel like he could stuff the takedowns of Basil Hafez and address that grappling. Then on feet, I feel like he's a much clearer, much sharper striker between the two. And I think also with Basil Hafez coming in on short notice and whatnot, as he is, I just don't think he's going to be able to really deal with Jack DellaMandalena. I think Mandalena is able to address the wrestling and grappling of Basil Hafez. Then on feet, just start to make him draw his shots out and to make him pay for drawing these shots out. Make him pay for reaching with his shots, maybe doing some overhands and looking for some power shots and, throwing himself through these shots where Jack Mandalena is making him miss, come up short on these shots and then start stalking him, touching with some power, constantly touching him, and then eventually set up his power shots and put Basil Hafez away in the first round. So in this one, I have Jack DellaMandalena via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division. We got Austin Lingo versus Mel Quazel Costa in the featherweight division, if I haven't already said that. So yeah, for this one, I got Mel Quazel Costa, average confidence, to beat Austin Lingo. So again, average confidence, Mel Quazel Costa to beat Austin Lingo, featherweight division. Yet again, I'm gonna say it like 5 times in this video, but for this prediction. But I think Austin Lingo is a solid fighter. He definitely has a very good chance in this one. Definitely, if he can wear down Costa, definitely he always get that one hitter quitter. So you gotta watch out for that. But I think Mel Quazel Costa has the tools to beat Austin Lingo. I feel like he could pressure with his striking and he look to set up takedowns. And that has been a path to beat Austin Lingo that has worked fighting 2 fighters. Yeah, definitely 2 fighters have been able to do that. Well, one fighter submitted him, only one fighter submitted him, but both fighters were able to outstrike him, outgrapple him. And I think Mel Quazel Costa will be able to do similar. And I think he also will be able to get a finish like Nate Landwehr did in his last fight. I'm not saying the exact same fight and exact same this, exact same that, but I think Mel Quazel Costa will be able to keep Lingo honest with his own power. Like, both got power, but I think Costa will be able to be the one initiating the pressure, be on the front foot, touching Lingo with power, and also threatening with the takedown. So Lingo will have to be responding to defending the heavy shots and also worried about defending the grappling as well of Mel Quazel Costa. And eventually trying to defend both, it will allow Costa to get off with both. So, you start reacting too much to the takedown, and he start to touch you up top. You start reacting too much to the shots up top, and he starts to duck under and look for the takedown. And ultimately, I think he's going to be able to pressure cook Austin Lingo, constantly pressure him, constantly touch him. Like, again, have him thinking about takedowns, have him thinking about shots, have him remembering when he was on the ground, how close you were to submissions and whatnot. And then just wearing down, of course, the fight, eventually able to take you down, secure the position, and land some ground and pound and get that second round submission, like after lathering up Lingo, like peppering Lingo up, soften him up a little bit, and then tap him out second round. So in this one, I had Mel Quazel Costa via second round submission. Now on to our next fight we have in the women's strawweight division. We got Estella Nunez versus Victoria Dudukova. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Victoria Dudukova to beat Estella Nunez. I think Estella Nunez has shown this to be a one-round fighter for the most part. Like, she can look very good for one round, but beyond that first round, she just like drops significantly in her skills. Get very flat-footed, gets very hittable. Output drops significantly. Again, takedown defense drops, striking defense drops. Like, everything just drops significantly after that first round. And I think Victoria Dudukova is good enough to extend her beyond that first round and even potentially win that first round, especially if she's going for a wrestling approach, which she most likely will. And she does seem to, shoot a good number of takedowns. She's not just a fighter that just shoots one takedown a round or two takedowns a fight. She'll shoot multiple takedowns. I'm not saying she's no Kobe Covington or nothing like that, but I think she shoots a sufficient amount of takedowns. And I think that should allow her a path to victory, and I think she'll find that path to victory. So I'll see her constantly working Nunez, whether it be against the cage or looking for takedowns, having Nunez have to extend herself, trying to defend these takedowns and defend the forward pressure of Dudukova, again, forward pressure and takedown attempts and clinch attempts and all that other stuff. Then second round, Stella Nunez get more flat-footed, more tired, and then Victoria Dudukova was able to get the takedown more easy in that second round, probably like a minute in or 30, 40 seconds into that second round. And then in that, this really heavy on top, landing ground and pound with Estella Nunez like pretty much dead on her back, not really doing too much, tired, mouth breathing, and Dudukova just piling up the points, piling up the ground and pound. And then basically when you start seeing Nunez like not as responsive, starts to really transition and go for the finish. And I think she gets it late second round. So in this one, I had Victoria Dudukova via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division. We got Tucker Lutz versus Melsik Bagdasaryan. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Melsik Bagdasaryan to beat Tucker Lutz. Yeah, Melsik Bagdasaryan just does not have the style that has beaten Tucker Lutz, or at least as far as I've seen in the UFC. I think he is the more talented fighter and he should win this one, but there's like really, again, there's no real proven path that, as far as the skill set that Melsik Bagdasaryan has presented in his career, so thus far, it's not the skill set that has caused issues for Tucker Lutz. He's more talented, but again, it's not the proven path, so that's why it's gonna be low confidence. I definitely see Tucker Lutz like being slept on, and I'm not sleeping on him, but I'm not picking him. But yeah, Tucker Lutz is an underrated fighter. You kind of look at the Sabatini fight and, kind of overlook him. You look at the Daniel Pineda fight, but it's different factors. And also, again, Melsik Bagdasaryan does not present those skill sets necessarily. But also, I think Tucker Lutz does not have the offensive wrestling game. And I don't think his pressure is necessarily to the degree it needs to be to, be able to prevail against Melsik Bagdasaryan. So I think he can have a decent game plan. He can make this competitive. But ultimately, I think the takedowns won't be there as much for Tucker Lutz, or the sets won't be there as much for Tucker Lutz. Then on the feet, Melsik Bagdasaryan just overall the better striker. I think he'll be faster, be sharper, be more active in more, I already said sharper, so he'll be connecting more. He'll have more accuracy and whatnot, more output, more accuracy, and more effect on the feet. And I think he put some weight in the third round. So in this one, I have Melsik Bagdasaryan via third round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in our first fight on the main card in the lightweight division. We got Terrence McKinney versus Nazim Sadikov. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Terrence McKinney to beat Nazim Sadikov. I think Sadikov presents a good skill set, but I think Terrence McKinney is going to do a good job to bounce back here. I think it's two very talented fighters, but I think McKinney's going to pull it off, and I think he's going to pull it off in spectacular fashion, or at least highlight fashion. I think he's going to take advantage of the fact that Nazim Sadikov shows up so hard in the inside to score takedowns. And I think he's going to immediately show a wrestling presence against Sadikov. I think Sadikov going to do his best to respond. But I think that initial first or second takedown, within the first two takedown attempts, I think he'll get a takedown. And I think he'll be able to establish decent control and make Sadikov have to carry his weight, look for submission, land ground and pound on Sadikov. I think Sadikov will be able to respond well to the the takedown and the grappling approach, and will be able to get back to his feet. But I think he's going to biting too hard on the striking or the takedown attempts or the fake takedown attempts for McKinney. Then that will allow McKinney to get his offense on his feet going. And I think he catches him with like a stepping knee or like an uppercut that's going to split the guard of Nazem Sadikar when he's like lowering his stance, probably inspecting the takedown. Probably going to still have his guard up, but probably going to lower his stance even more, thinking this takedown, but it's going to be a knee or uppercut that's going to split the guard, probably drop him. Then McKinney's going to spin, take his back in the scramble, and sink in the rear naked choke and tap him out first round. So in this one, I have Terrence McKinney via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Ottman Izatar versus Francisco Prado. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence. No, I'm going low confidence Francisco Prado to beat Ottman Izatar. Izatar is the more experienced fighter. He's the guy that's more so in his prime than Francisco Prado, who's only like 22, 23 years old, very young. But despite the youth and despite supposed to be the veteran and this and that, I feel like Francisco Prado fights smarter than Ottman Izatar. I feel like Izatar gets a little bit too confident in himself and like forgets that he's human. But I don't know how he's going to think now that he's got knocked out in his last fight. Is he going to fight more tentative or not? But also, it's not a good look when you fight like that style and you just got chinned. Any bit of like it's bad to have overconfidence with that style, and it's also bad to have a lacking confidence or second guessing yourself because you're gonna go in the fire. You rely on going in the fire a lot of times, trading and just being the faster guy inside and the faster guy with the heavier hands and probably the better technique on the inside typically, even though defensively you'd be negligent a lot of times. But now that you got knocked out and where your strength was supposed to be, especially coming off a long layoff, then get knocked off, now you took another layoff and coming back. That's not a good look. I feel like Francisco Prado's still gonna fight smarter than him. I think he's gonna have quicker hands on the inside. He's gonna also have heavy hands and good hooks, just like Izatar. But it's not just swinging hooks and not never coming back to defense like Izatar. Izatar can show offense, but we throw those hands. He don't get back on his defense. He just trade the hands. Like he just throw his defense out the window and trade it and like expect his hands to be faster. He expect to be the bigger man, the harder man, and come out and he exchanges just cause instead of like actually putting the work in on defense. But so I think Prado has more defense than him. They're both gonna be trading it on the inside, but Prado's gonna be not gonna be as defensively negligent as Izatar is. And I think he's gonna catch Ottman, he's gonna catch Izatar, Prado will. And I think he knocks him out first round. So in this one, I have Francisco Prado via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's featherweight division, we got Norma Dumont versus Chelsea Chandler. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going high confidence Norma Dumont to beat Chelsea Chandler. Chelsea Chandler definitely got a good shot here. She got some heavy hands. Not the best technique, but the hands are heavy. She's pretty physically strong, but I think Dumont's experience will factor heavy here. I think Dumont's more skilled on the feet. I think she's more skilled in the grappling department. And she has more experience fighting at this level of the game. Has had some 5-round fights, had a main event, has suffered losses, have had one win. So she's been there, done that. Like she's seen some of the highs, seen some of the lows. Obviously, there's much more she can do, but Chelsea Chandler has not even made it to where Dumont is yet. So I think that experience, again, that experience will factor heavy. I think Chelsea Chandler will be able to make it competitive, but I think Dumont will be able to use that experience to be able to slow the fight down when necessary, and then like take some steam off Chelsea Chandler by wall installing her, initiating clinches, like wearing those arms down, slowing the fight down. And then once the fight slow down, get back to her jab, get back to her distance, and just outboxing, outstriking Chelsea Chandler. And then also maybe when Chelsea Chandler starts to overcommit in the middle of the cage, she can set up takedowns on Chelsea Chandler. And we have seen someone even as mediocre, what's her name? I forget it, but that chick who only has arm bars, not Ronda Rousey, but the bootleg Ronda Rousey. A layaway, off-brand version of Ronda Rousey. That's not even really an off-brand version of Ronda Rousey to begin with, but I forget her name. And it's not even a big factor, but nonetheless, she was able to take it down by a fighter who's smaller, less technical, less skilled, not even that good, especially not offensively and wrestling. Several times she was able to reverse position, but you go reverse that position against a scrub, but you go into a solid fighter, you're not gonna have the same luxuries. A solid fighter has a good size and good strength and good glutes on her, it's gonna be an issue to it's not gonna be as smooth to just roll her over. And you could end up spending 2 minutes, 3 minutes on the ground if she didn't sharpen that area of her game up. So nonetheless, I think Dumont's going to just fight a clean performance and use that veteran experience, slow the fight down when needed, and then to stick behind her fundamentals and beat Chelsea Chandler to a decision victory. So in this one, I have Norma Dumont via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in our co-main event in the middleweight division, we have Albert Duriev versus Junyoung Park. So Albert Duriev versus Junyoung Park, middleweight division. How I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence, Junyoung Park to beat Albert Duriev. I think Doria is a solid fighter, but he hasn't really shown the ability to wrestle for 3 rounds. He has shown fatigue in fights, the ability to slow down and get dropped in later rounds. I mean, that has happened a couple times. Kopylov, I think, dropped him in the later round. I don't know if it was the middle round or the last round, but Kopylov definitely got his drop back in that fight. And I think he did come on a little bit later in the fight, but by that point, it was like Doria was already up 2 rounds. So that was the case. Joaquin Buckley just embarrassed him after he was talking so much trash. I think he just dropped him several times and just was mixing him up. But yeah, through this point, I have not seen Doria fight with a good high pace for 3 rounds. Even his fight against Chidi Njokuani, I think he lost the last round. I think he won the first 2 rounds. The first round was very close. Second round was a stronger round, I think. And the third round, he got outstruck and couldn't get no takedown. So it clearly enough fights to show that he slows down. The fight goes on. Clearly enough tape to show that he hasn't been able to really wrestle anyone good for 3 rounds. And it's not like he has really even scored more than 2 takedowns. I think he scored a bunch against Kopylov, but nonetheless, in the later rounds, it definitely for sure has shown a consistent pattern of slowing down. So that's why I think Junyoung Park, with the improvements in his wrestling, offensively and defensively, in his grappling, I think he should be able to address the wrestling of Duriev. I could definitely see a case where it's a first round where Duriev looks strong in the first round. Definitely could be a great fight to play bet live and stuff, where Duriev can come out strong, probably turn into a -300 favor on the night. Well, yeah, favorite on the night during the fight. But also, probably start to slow down that second round. Junyoung Park gets a beat on his takedowns. And then it starts to stuff his takedowns. Doria starts to go away from his takedowns and start to load up, swing these big, wide, loopy, sloppy shots like he likes to do. And I think Junyoung Park just be shorter, sharper with his shots and just start to pick him apart, start to stalk him, lands on shots, and probably even mixing his own takedown. I think a submission is very much on the table for Junyoung Park, to be honest, especially if Doria fades like he typically does. But I'm going to say like a 3rd round TKO. I think it'll be a good first round, probably should be the best round for Doria if he even wins it, but first round should be his best round, if anything. Again, I'm not saying he's going to win it. In my opinion, I hope he loses it. He gets picked apart for 3 rounds, maybe get knocked out in the first round, honestly. But I think his best chance to win a round and possibly win the fight is in the first round. But yeah, decent first round for Doriev. Then he starts to fade noticeably in the second round. I think Junyoung Park starts to take it away. Probably been mixing the takedown in there and put Doriev on his back to even more deflate him. Then the third round, probably just mouth breathing and get hit with jabs all day, not moving his head, swinging big loopy shots and get hit with 1-2s while he's throwing them and just looking lost out there. Then Junyoung Park just starts to stalk him, pick him apart, and get him out of there. Third round. So in this one, I have Junyoung Park via third round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the women's bantamweight division, in the women's bantamweight division, we got Holly Holm versus Mayra Bueno Silva. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Mayra Bueno Silva, average confidence to beat Holly Holm. I think Holly Holm is a solid fighter, but she's also 40 plus, not a good sign. And also, she has been showing improvements in her grappling, but that could also end up being bad for her. I feel like this is a fight where she should look to just not grapple too much at all. And should just look to mix in her shots, stick and move, and sprawl on these takedowns, avoid these takedowns, and stick and move. That would be her best chance to victory. But Holly Holm now, she will look to use that wrestling and grappling she's been working on to look for takedowns. It's been looking good for her, but also it's been benefited by the fact that a lot of these fighters she has been fighting don't really have no offensive grappling off their back, so she can take them down and be perfectly safe in the guard, no worries. But Mayra Bueno Silva will make Holly Holm work the whole fight, and Holly Holm might be able to run marathons and run this and run that or whatnot, have this cardio. But the thing is about cardio is that is she good for the sprint? And I don't think that she is. I think right now at this point in her career, she can run miles and miles, but she can't sprint for very long. And that sprinting will definitely wear her down very quickly. And I think Mayra Bueno Silva can force Holly Holm into sprinting situations, force her to have to explode on some takedowns or some attempts, force her to move a little bit, force her to deal with an opponent that's active on bottom. So, you feel like this is a rest position on top. Now you got to keep moving your hips, keep adjusting because you got somebody on bottom who's actually attacking you off your back and making you have to work. And Bueno Silva will make Holly Holm work this whole fight. She has sneakily heavily. I said sneakily heavily. She has some sneaky power. I'm not saying she's a knockout artist, but her power is nothing to be slept on and got to be respected. And I think she'll be a touch Holly Holm with some of this power. And I definitely will, shake her brain up a little bit and, force her to be uncomfortable. So at the very least, it will be uncomfortable and also will deal damage. And to get to the conclusion, where all of this is leaning, is that I think she's going to be able to wear Holly Holm down with her pace. Holly Holm could run for like all these miles on 6, but I feel like Bueno Silva will push her to run at 8, 9, 10, maybe even 11 at times. And yes, Holly Holm could run all these miles on 6, but when you force to run beyond that, your distance you can run starts to fade heavily because you are prepared to run for all this mileage at 6, but somebody start again making you run this and that. Yeah, and maybe she can have better cardio and push a better pace if it's just at 6. But when that younger fighter forces you to work at a higher pace, all that triathlete ability and capability goes out the window. And I think that's what Bueno Silva's going to do. Pressure, offense, force Holly Holm to make a move, go for these takedowns, work over her back, to eventually catch Holly Holm probably a little bit tired, a little bit labored, trying to catch a breather with a takedown, and then Bueno Silva offensive off her back, catch Holly Holm, in a moment of fatigue or moment of fatigue and trying to catch her breath, like not gassed out or nothing, because like she's still gonna have good cardio, but that moment where you just trying to get that little sigh of relief, get that bit of oxygen breathed in right there. In that moment, that little simple little mental lapse, that little lapse right there, going to allow Bueno Silva to snap up an armbar and tap her out third round. So in this one, I had Mayra Bueno Silva via third round submission. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Holm versus Bueno Silva. And as always, thanks for watching.